Okay, so I found this video while I was searching on YouTube. I think it was put out this week. It's a compilation of the different reactions that Skip and Shannon have to like different transactions, like free agent signings, trades, stuff like that, through throughout the free agency period or throughout the off season. And I'm just gonna provide some commentary, man. I like doing videos on Skip and Shannon because they're like so many other of the best shows. They're polar opposites. You know, one has one perspective, and the other has another perspective. But the difference between Skip and Shannon and a lot of those other shows, their polar opposites are usually they're usually a little too over enthusiastic with a lot of the claims they make. Like Shannon would be wrong in one direction. I mean, he'll feel a certain way, and most of what he says is just completely wrong or emotional or something like that. And Skip, although he's a little more accurate with different things than Shannon is, he's also, in his own respect, wrong. So I don't know. I'm just going to look at these different reactions and just provide some commentary for some of them. It's only like a 5-minute video, so.
How you doing?
He's going all out.
Oh, Brown go.
Somebody's excited about this trade.
Club Shay.
It's funny how Shannon was a Cleveland fan 2 years ago. Now he's all in Lakers. I mean, I've never understood. Look, I get how fandom within itself is dangerous depending on the individual. Some people just like sports. I love sports. I mean, sports has been a huge part of my childhood. It was probably some of the better parts because, I don't know. Sometimes I get invested in sports so much that, some of the greatest moments I've ever witnessed growing up, they impacted me a little more than, I guess, the casual fan. But I never get too involved with anybody. I mainly support the Boston Celtics, New England Patriots, Bruins, because I like the way that city conducts itself professionally and the types of players they bring in. I think that the whole city, for some reason, they just have a knack for being able to just get the job done. They don't have to have a bunch of boisterous people running their mouth to the press conference or whatever. And, they usually are very effective with what they do, and I can respect that. And I've respected it since I was a kid, and I still do. But I never let my interest in those teams carry me to a point where I just start making wild-ass accusations and wild-ass claims just because, I'm trying to defend them for some reason. But with that being said, I mean, fandom within itself is somewhat of a slippery slope. It's dangerous. But, I never understood people that say, I'm a fan of this player, I'm a fan of this. So, what are you saying when that player retires or you're not a fan anymore? You're not a supporter, you're not a viewer. You're just there along for the ride until that player is gone, and then that's it. So I never really understood that, but I'm gonna continue.
Kids back open. Now something happened Saturday night, and you were busy tweeting. I need you to stop tweeting on a Saturday night. We're gonna win the title next year. Yeah.
Like I said before, everybody and their mama knew that Anthony Davis was going to go to the Lakers. And when you listen to some of the stories surrounding why New Orleans traded him to the Lakers, from what I could gather, Adam Silver promised the new owner, I think it's Paul Allen's sister. No, not Paul Allen. The owner of the Saints and the owner of the Pelicans, who just passed. I think his sister took over with the team. And Adam Silver went to her, told her that, look, if you trade Anthony Davis to the Lakers, we will take care of you. And I'm not saying that this happened 100%, but I believe there's no reason why a player wanted to just get out of his contract and you're just going to allow it. You're not going to have no pushback. You're not going to make him play out his contract. You keep entertaining the news. You just keep entertaining it. The only way I can see you go along with this and you don't find some kind of way to keep Anthony Davis on the team and fulfill the rest of his contract is if you were coerced or you were promised certain things to happen for you. And what do you know? Not too long after I heard this, like a couple months later, the New Orleans Pelicans get the number 1 pick in the draft. And I was like, that's what it was. That's what it was. If they give up Anthony Davis, they'll get the number 1 pick in the draft. That's what it was. And that could be a conspiracy theory. It could just be a baseless claim, whatever. But sometimes the evidence itself stacks up based on certain events around whatever the story is, and it's just weird. I mean, we're talking about the Lakers, we're talking about the Knicks getting the number 1 pick, we're talking about among other teams to get the number 1 pick, Phoenix, and who gets the number 1 pick? New Orleans. I mean, it's just strange, man.
Really? We went in the title next
We're going to
year.
be talking about
The
this
Lakers.
Are you a Cowboy fan? I don't know.
Don't do that.
Jumped on my bandwagon.
No. The Lakers. Lakers will win the title next year.
Really?
I want 50 cases of dew on it right now.
Okay,
50
done.
cases.
Done.
50 cases.
I really don't get this case of do shit. The betting that they do. I'm starting to think that they're actually talking about money, because Skip Bayless is going to make a statement in a few seconds that makes me believe they're alluding to money, not do. Because they keep saying this do shit, and I don't really think, like, it's stupid to keep talking about your betting soda. Like, who the fuck drinks 50 cases of soda? You know how long it would have to take you unless you drink that shit every day? 50 cases of soda. You know how long it would take you to go through 50 cases of soda? That's why I'm thinking, like, they're talking about money. When they say, I bet you 50 cases of dew, they probably talking about, I bet you 50,000 or some shit like that. 5,000 is like something. They're betting money, man. This is so stupid. The only thing that makes sense to me is that they're betting money.
50. I'm writing it
I
down.
just accepted 50 cases on the Lakers winning the title.
Yeah.
Done.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're going to be sorry.
I'm going to have 2 swimming pools in Bel Air. This was a...
See, right there, he just said I'm gonna have 2 swimming pools in Bel Air. That means that nigga gonna get some. He gonna get some money, man. He gonna get paid, man. And I'm thinking it's probably like 50,000, or the money is adding up somewhere around there. But they're talking about money, man. They're not talking about no fucking soda. They're talking about money.
seismic move to rock the world of basketball. You know, you guys laugh. Mike Conley, to me, is the most underrated point guard in
Mike Conley, since he was drafted, was one of the most underrated point guards in the NBA. Since he's been drafted. I won't say he's the most underrated point guard of all time. There are plenty of point guards that go unnoticed behind the shadow of Steve Nash, Magic Johnson, Steph Curry, players like that. Not Derrick Rose. Like players like that. There's plenty of players that get kind of thrusted out when you start having the greatest point guard of all time conversation. But not greatest point guard. Damn. One of the best, one of the most efficient point guards. Mike Conley is a really good player. He's a really good, reliable player. He's not flashy, and a lot of times the most dependable players aren't the most flashiest. They're not killing you on a stat sheet. They're not murdering you with awards and shit like that. Like a James Harden would be glorified. Russell Westbrook would be glorified because they're flashy. That don't mean they'll win anything, but they're flashy. But a guy like Mike Conley, who is just as productive as they are, I'm not going to say more productive, they're just as productive as they are. He just doesn't put up crazy amount of stats. But I'm pretty sure if you go look at his per game averages, I'm talking about from the time he was drafted to now, and line him up with Russell Westbrook and James Harden, I'm pretty sure they'll be in the ballpark, man. Mike Conley, year after year, is just one of the most reliable point guards in the NBA, and he never gets the respect he deserves. And I think that he missed out on a couple of All-Star teams that he probably should have been selected to, but it is what it is. So I think Mike Conley going to the Jazz, he's instantly gonna make the Jazz a serious contender. With the Golden State Warriors pretty much disbanding, I mean the West is wide open now. The West is wide open. If Klay Thompson manages to come back in time, I think the Golden State Warriors will be fine. They'll get their footing. I mean, and they added D'Angelo Russell. They'll be fine. But the West is wide open now.
History.
They wanted Kyrie, KD, and Kawhi. And come to find out, Skip, they don't get the number 1 overall draft pick. They don't get Kyrie.
They don't get the number 1 draft pick because they were screwed by the New Orleans Pelicans and Adam Silver, man. That's why they don't get the number 1 pick. And they don't get KD and Kyrie because who wants to go to the Knicks with their shitty... Just like who wants to go to the fucking Lakers? Who wants to sign there? Not who wants to bitch and moan and get traded out of their contract. Who wants to sign there out of free agency? They're talking about the Lakers. They're talking about the Knicks. They're talking about all these teams that are going to get Kawhi. They're going to get Kyrie. That are going to get KD. And none of those teams got them. Kawhi went to the Clippers. KD and Kyrie Irving went to the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, not everybody wants to play for the Knicks. Not everybody wants to play for the fucking Lakers. Not everybody wants to play with LeBron. So let's just get that notion out there. Just nobody wants to play with those factions just because people believe that people want to play with them. They keep talking about the mystique. If you want to solidify your legacy or whatever, you have to sign with these teams. You don't have to sign with them. Look at Kawhi Leonard, man. He got traded to the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors have never been to the finals. Not only did he get them to the finals, they won the fucking finals. It doesn't matter how they won it, they won it.
Get Kawhi, they don't get KD. They struck out with all the Ks.
I remain shocked over this. In the end, it was about Kyrie and friendship, as you say.
Yeah.
But Kevin's still too young to opt for just friendship. Kevin Durant just made a huge mistake to me. The legacy move for Kevin Durant was obviously to go to the Knicks.
Kevin Durant's legacy is already solidified. He didn't need to go to the Knicks to fucking become a legend. If Kevin Durant decided to retire before he even steps on a court for the Brooklyn Nets, his career is solidified. His legacy is solidified. 30 years from now, when we talk about Kevin Durant, he'll be a fucking legend. Well, how unique his game is, practically a 7-footer that can shoot anywhere on the fucking floor at a high clip. I mean, this dude will be a legend for a very long time, man. I'm talking James Worthy, Clyde Drexler, George Gervin. Like, he will be a legend forever, man. Julius Erving, he will be a legend forever. So he doesn't need to solidify his legacy. That's why I'm glad he went to the Nets. Start your own shit, man. Go to a team that's never won a title and you go there and you help them win a fucking title. That'll even further your legacy, man.
Leonard is taking his own sweet time because he feels that's in the best interest of what he wants to do.
No, because he just doesn't get it.
Yeah, he gets it.
Plus, he thinks he's...
Get what? What doesn't Kawhi get? Kawhi is great right now. Kawhi is, right now, he is in the argument for best player in the world. Right now, he has put himself in a position to do what he wants, to get what he wants. And it's not too many people that can deny him, man.
That good.
He is. Yeah. He got it.
He is that good. That's why he went to a team that's never been to the finals and he won it.
Shows a lack of class and a lack of basketball character. I'm going to say it again. You just didn't...
Again, hater. That's it. This is just the symptoms of a fucking hater.
Interrupted me. Class, basketball character lacking in number 2, just as they always were in San Antonio.
So now, you know what, Skip? I feel very, very comfortable. I'm come to a whopping 94.3% that we gonna get Kawhi.
As you know, I've been rooting for the Clippers to.
And you will be wrong. Kawhi gonna end up in LA, but he won't be for the Lakers. Everybody believes that everybody wants to play for the Lakers, man. For some reason, it's like the Lakers is the shit now, man. Like, even though the Lakers haven't been able to sign a big time free agent since LeBron, but it's not even like that was a great move. Just look at what happened last year. They missed the fucking playoffs.
Land this guy, it would be just fun to walk.
And then some people want to make the argument that LeBron got, before he got hurt and missed those 18 games or whatever, that team was in position. They were in like the third or fourth slot. Yeah, well, the Pittsburgh Steelers was 7-2-1, and they missed the playoffs. So I don't want to hear nothing about that. It's not about if you put the team in position to get it. What we're talking about is you didn't get it. That's it. That's all. The results is what matter, man. It doesn't matter about the road leading up to the fucking results. I think the results are far more important than the road that led up to him.
Watch, and if he wanted to really enhance his legacy, this is where he should choose.
Entertainment business? Is that what you want? Because we can reach out. We can make a call to DiCaprio. Yeah, we can make a call to Denzel, Samuel L. Is that what you...
No. What you mean to say is we can make a call to Adam Silver. We could call him up and be like, yo, we need you to get Kawhi to the Lakers. And as soon as Kawhi tried to sign with the Clippers, violation, we need to veto this. We need to veto this deal, just like the Chris Paul deal that got him sent to the Clippers and not to the Lakers. That whole deal was vetoed for some reason.
What do you want to do, Kawhi? What do you want to do? How do you want to be remembered? Because the Pantheon greats, the one name, and you got one name, Kawhi. Kawhi, Kobe, Shaq, Kareem, Magic, Logo, Elgin, Braun. Stop.
This is because people are too goddamn stupid to just call them by either both names or to refer to them with both names. How often are you talking about Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James so much that you have to shorten their fucking name? I hate this one name shit. Madonna, Cher, like Rihanna, Beyonce. Like, come on, bro. Like, why does that matter, man? Like if you get referred to as one name, you're all of a sudden some bona fide big star that will live on in the heavens of entertainment forever. And it'll just be like that. And now you're not Kawhi Leonard anymore. You're Kawhi. Like this is so stupid, man. Like Kawhi, like it's some marketable shit that you're just gonna put Kawhi on the back of jeans, and women just gonna be walking around with the latest Kawhi jeans. Like, what the fuck? Like, I don't think the name matters, man. Like, this dude has already solidified himself as a legend as well, man. Like, he went to the Toronto Raptors and got them a title in less than a fucking year. That's legend status. I'm sorry, man.
Please.
Is this a done deal? Wait.
Of course I'm disappointed. Skip, I've said it from the very beginning. If the Lakers can open up a max slot, the only guy that's worth giving that max slot money to is Kawhi Leonard.
And that's only if Kawhi wants to fucking be there. See, people forget that it's a two-way street, man. This is not like the draft where if you draft somebody, they have to play for you. Well, they don't have to play for you because John Elway proved that you don't have to, and so did Eli Manning. But the chances of that player playing for you are extremely high. All right, free agency is different. Both parties have to be in agreement to play to accommodate each other. The team has to be willing to accommodate the player. The player has to be willing to accommodate the team. And then with you both in agreement, a deal is made. That's it. You can't just, listen, we want Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving, but we also want to keep LeBron James and Anthony Davis. All right? We're willing to pay them whatever they want to come to this team. What, they don't want to come here? Make them. Doesn't matter what they want. Like, no, nigga, like, they get to choose where they want to go. Kawhi, if Kawhi wanted to go to the Lakers, man, like, I think he would have found a way to get himself to the Lakers. but he didn't want to play for them. And I think he even came out where I think he said he didn't want to play with the Lakers. It was before the season even started.
And I was out Friday.
Because the same thing, I heard the same thing about Paul George. I heard the same thing about somebody else. Who else was it? It was somebody else that was a free agent that didn't want to sign there. I got to think of that name.
And another earthquake happened, Skip. But I think it was...
This is an even bigger
It
one.
was an even bigger one than the Thursday one.
Yep.
But the bigger shock was, the bigger quake was to come about 35 minutes later.
Look, the Lakers regrouped incredibly well. You know,
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. All they did was they traded 3 guys that they did nothing to develop at all to a team that has even a worse fucking development system than they do. Now Swing Cash is gonna try to develop Lonzo Ball and Brendan Ingram. Okay, that's very hilarious to me. That Swing Cash, who's never played NBA basketball in her life, is going to teach NBA basketball players how to play basketball. Okay, all right, you got that one. But all they did was traded them for a guy that you can't even fucking trust. This is a guy that was willing to just shit on his contract to come to your team. It's like a girl. It's like a girl that cheats on her boyfriend with you, and then she leaves her boyfriend and she starts dating you. What makes you think she won't do the same shit to you, man? Like, I don't see how this shit is gonna work out, man. I don't see how it's gonna work out. Either the Lakers are gonna lose, or Anthony Davis, the first chance he gets, he's gonna try to get the fuck out of there, man. Because players tend to not want to play with LeBron unless they have to. All right.
obviously they lost players they would have gone after, had Kawhi, you know.
Yeah, and how much better are they going to get? They're going to go from winning about, 40 to maybe 45 games to they may win maybe 45 to 50 games. I mean, how much of an impact is Anthony Davis going to have on that team? Like, how much of an impact, man? Because Anthony Davis couldn't win by his fucking self. He couldn't win with Boogie Cousins. And then when they started making the playoffs, I honestly believe that the East was a lot deeper than the West was at that time, man. Like, I don't know, man. When you have teams like Orlando and Detroit making the fucking playoffs, some people say that the East is weak. When you're looking at star talent and when you're looking at all-star talent, yeah, they don't have as many all-stars or stars. But that opens up the level of competition when you take some of those stars and move them to the West. And then when you start stockpiling talent on certain teams, you're depriving other talent at the bottom of talented players. I mean, other teams from talented players. And now it's all top-heavy and there's nothing, on the bottom. But in the East, there's a lot more spread out, man. Look, man, yeah.
Wouldn't go incredibly.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be doing it.
Just called scrambling. Just for...
I love the decision number 2 made because I can't not love it. I challenged him all week last week to have the guts to compete against LeBron. Don't join him, fight him.
When has Kawhi Leonard, and Skip Bayless should know this, man. When has Kawhi Leonard ever given in to fucking demands or has ever said, you know what, I'm going to do what this person wants me to do? He did that shit to the Spurs. The Spurs wanted him to play, even though he said he wasn't ready to play. And not only did he sit out, but he won at the end. He got sent to a team that ended up winning the NBA championship. And what the fuck did the Spurs do? Nothing. He won. So I think him going his own way and doing his own thing works out for him, I guess. So why the fuck would he want to go play with LeBron? If the Lakers start losing, how weird is it for Kawhi to get blamed for the losses? Oh, well, you know what? Kawhi don't talk that much. So maybe he's not communicating with his teammates on the floor enough and they're losing these games. Like, it's just be super strange. I think it's better for him to be on the Clippers. And I was hoping that if you don't stay in Toronto, go to the Clippers, man. Just don't entertain the bullshit that LeBron brings whenever he's around.
That was my theme all last week, and by golly, he did it. This was not a good trade. This was an all-time great trade.
That was a terrible trade. The Houston Rockets made a terrible mistake. The only thing that they did was shed money. That's it. They didn't help themselves winning. You're talking about two Super Bowl dominant players who wants to be the guy. Both of them. And not only did you have one on your team that was just Super Bowl dominant, but you traded for another one that was Super Bowl dominant. Russell Westbrook literally boxed his own teammate out for a rebound. Does that scream team player to you? Like, what was you thinking? Like, the Houston Rockets are just shooting themselves in the foot. They like, look, man, we got the Golden State Warriors to 7 games 2 years ago. We got them to a game 6 last year. We are one player away from winning. And you know who that player is? Russell Westbrook. That's that player. The guy who couldn't get out the first round to save his life. He lost to Portland and Utah, but that is not a negative reflection on him. It's so stupid, man. These guys are just so damn stupid, man.
By Daryl Morey, because he just righted his own wrong, and it was one of the wrongest.
No, he didn't. He erased that one wrong he did and made another one. The only positive thing he did was he shed that money, but not really though, because look, Westbrook is in his 30s now, and Westbrook's contract is still underway. At the end of Westbrook's contract, he's going to be like 35 or 36, and he's going to be making like $40 million. And we all know, like, what history has taught us as sports fans is that the most athletic players, once their age goes up in number, their athleticism comes down. And sure, Russell Westbrook is still super athletic, but anything can happen. He could pull a hamstring, he could pull a groin, he could injure something, he could injure a leg, a foot, and he'll never be the same again. And now you have you have a way less talented version of Chris Paul on your team that makes just as money as Chris Paul. So, yeah, how much of a fucking great decision did he make? People look at Russell Westbrook being a great player and James Harden being a great player, and it's like, you know what, this is a great deal. You put two dominant players who imposes their will on defenses and other teams. You put two players like that on the same team, they're going to wreck the league. No, they're going to wreck that team, and the league is going to laugh at them.
Wrongs in NBA history. He gave Chris Paul just a year ago this albatross of an anvil of a contract that was hanging around Daryl Morey's neck and dragging this whole franchise down.
These two guys do not make sense playing together.
Thank you. It's like putting two little kids in the same room and expecting them to share one toy. They're going to fight over that fucking toy. All right? They may be friends. And look, people have great things to say about Russell Westbrook because I guess he's extremely loyal. He seems like a good person. He seems like he cares about the people he cares about. But when it comes to playing on the court, that is different. I'm pretty sure Carmelo Anthony don't have the same respect for Russell Westbrook after he boxed him out for a fucking rebound. And then what Westbrook said to justify that situation was, look, if you don't want it, I'm going to go up and get it. Like, nigga, that was your teammate. It wasn't the other team, bro. What the fuck are you talking about? You boxed him out. What is he supposed to do? Push your little ass out the way and go up there and get it? Like, come on, man.
For the last 5 years, 1 and 2 in Houston. Russ is 1, James Harden is 2. And remember, Skip, this is one of the things that drove he and Chris Paul apart. I can tell you what's going to happen. I give it a year.
James Harden is becoming LeBron James, but just more of an offensive version of LeBron James. James Harden is super dependent on having the ball in his hands at all times when he's on the court. He needs to take a majority of the shots. He needs to set up a majority of the shots. He needs to be the main focal point of the team. And what that does when you have other good players around you is it alienates them. It relegates them and their talent to a single role. And now instead of having Chris Paul, who is your point guard, not James Harden, Chris Paul, who is your point guard, instead of having him facilitate, Now you take the ball out of his hands and you turn him into a jump shooter, and he's not that. This is why Chris Paul didn't play well, because the role that they kept putting him in is not the role that he's good at. And now, not only are you replacing him with a more athletic player, you're replacing him with Russell Westbrook, who's not offensive at all. His fucking shooting stats are terrible. Terrible. For a fucking point guard that shoots him as much as he does. It's terrible. And now you're taking Chris Paul, who's not a main offensive kind of guy, but he is a guy that can get you really good shots and really key shots, with Russell Westbrook, who overshoots and never thinks about some of the shots that he just takes. This dude will literally get the ball on the other end of the court, drive all the way to the other end of the court, and just jack up a jump shot with 0 passes. And you're replacing Chris Paul with that guy. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, it's totally going to work out.
Maybe 2 at max. And they're going to be shipping Russ out of there, trying to get some of those draft picks back.
I wouldn't be surprised if this was a move that they did to get a more attractive option. Because Chris Paul, from what I understand, was hard to move. He was an older guy with a huge-ass contract. I don't think too many people wanted to take that contract on. But I think the Oklahoma City Thunder were ready to rebuild, because when you have a team as talented as your team was, and you had a potential MVP on your team, and you can't get out the first round for the second year in a row, yeah, it's time to rebuild. So only the Oklahoma City Thunder were willing to take on that contract. Now, the smart thing for Houston to do was trade Chris Paul any way you could, get Russell Westbrook, and you flip Russell Westbrook. You may not give what you gave away, but you'll get something significant in return. That's the only way this makes sense, and this is actually a good deal. If they don't do that, this is a terrible deal, and the Houston Rockets may go out in the first round next year.
They gave OKC.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe.
But that's it, man. Look, that last one, that Westbrook thing, I'm still laughing about it to this day, because it's just hilarious, man. I mean, how stupid can you be? Unless they flip him, I mean, how stupid can you be? But that's it, man.